this, folks, was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A miracle, you could say. We had an episode of One Punch Man that was not bad. I knew it would happen one day. Wait. You mean people didn't like this episode, but they liked the other ones? You know, the ones when he's chasing over-sexualized mosquitoes and shit? Jesus Christ. Bad taste, I guess. As said before, this episode of One Punch Man was not bad, with my biggest issue with the last episode being addressed, the villains who were generic having way too much screen time. I actually got to enjoy a little bit of this below average series. Sorry, it's instinct to kind of shit on this show at this point. Thankfully, the villains did not take up all the screen time this episode. Their motivations, although silly, were a lot more unique than the previous villains we had before. The OST this episode was also great, despite it sounding like a direct copy and paste of Kill la Kill's soundtrack, but I digress. The biggest jump in quality came through the comedy. That's not saying much though, considering the rest of the show was not funny anyways. But once again, I digress. Comedy scenes in the second half of the episode didn't feel as random as usual, and that led to the jokes actually being funny. Add to the fact that the jokes had strong but very little build up alongside a very short punchline, and you've got yourself some nicely written comedy. Now that I'm done stating the good that I scavenged to find this episode, let's critique it. I said this episode was not bad. I never said it was good. It was not bad comparatively. That's more like it. Let's first go back to the villains we talked about earlier. The villains didn't take up all the screen time. Just about 16 fucking minutes. 4/5 of the episode. Yeah, Genos, now do you see how explaining something obvious makes us want to kick you in the dick? This wouldn't be a problem if the villains were actually interesting, but just like the other episodes, this was the typical monster of the week scenario, where 3/4 of the episode is filler, and the opposing forces are defeated in just one sequence of events. These events being the fight scenes. And speaking of the fight scenes, they sucked ass this episode. At least comparatively when you put them right next to the manga panels. The fight between Saitama and that generic edgy ninja faggot was supposed to have way more field of view effects, a lot more fluidity, and a whole lot less looping swooshes. Damn, Madhouse, the show is literally just an animator showcase, but you can't even let the animators go out. Come on, cuh. What in God's name happened to the budget this episode? I mean, the art was never anything special for the show, but I mean, some of these scenes were just... where's the effort? Usually you'll hear me ripping on the art of these episodes, but not the animation. However, this episode, neither of the two was outstanding at all. Many of the scenes had that very abrupt art switch seen in episodes 1 and 3 of the series, but unlike those episodes, episode 4 doesn't attempt to make the art blend with the animation, so the art just stands out as being even worse than it already was before in previous episodes. This new edgy ninja guy just got really annoying. He has a very generic personality to him that makes him no different than those of any of the enemies he's fighting, aside from us being told, hey, he's a good guy, this ninja and his ninjutsu are nothing unique. If we weren't directly told that this guy was a bodyguard, you could easily mistake him for one of the opposing forces. Some of you will try to defend that by saying he's supposed to be generic, but now I'm going to say this. This has been a thought that I've kept to myself for the past couple of weeks. Here's a little short story. A successful white businessman sees a Saudi Arabian protesting about black people on the corner of a street. This white man then decides to make fun of the Saudi Arabian by mocking his actions, with the only different being who he is mocking, the people of Saudi Arabia. Some time passes and a black guy walks up to the white man with kids on his shoulders, asking the white man what he is doing. The white man then tells the black person that he is mocking the Saudi Arabian and that he is attempting to be a societal hero. After hearing this, however, the black man then says, I see no heroes here, just two belligerent fools. End of story. What was the point of that story I just told, you're probably asking? Eventually, if you copy or attempt to satire someone without changing or warning people of how you're doing the mocked action, you then become the exact same as the person committing the initial action. In other words, TLDR, you become what you make fun of. This is the main phrase I can use to describe all of One Punch Man's flaws, without going too far into detail, that is. Everything in One Punch Man attempts to quote-unquote satire, as the fan base says. It is. It's not satiring generic characters, its characters are just very generic. It's not making fun of badly written shows with good budgets, it's just a badly written show with an inconsistent budget. This episode of One Punch Man, easily either the best or second best episode of the show so far. However, that, as always, isn't saying much since the rest of the show is complete shit. If manga readers are already beginning to be disappointed, while all they asked for was a good adaptation with fight scenes adapted panel by panel or better, then I can only imagine how much shit this show is going to be at the end of its run.
Beware episode 9.